Hello, my wild, free-spirited Sagittarius souls, my magnificent truth seekers in a world of constant questioning. Welcome back to Cosmic Treasure. I want you to come a little closer for just a moment. Close your eyes if that feels right for you, and take a deep, centering breath with me. Inhale the expansive wisdom of your inner compass, and exhale any lingering mental or spiritual stagnation you have been carrying. I have a profound feeling that you were not led here by chance today. Your spirit, in its joyful questing wisdom, knew there was a message waiting for you, a truth that is finally ready to break through the surface of your life. There is a great and gentle turning of a cosmic wheel, a profound recalibration of your cosmic compass that has been moving towards you with the slow, deliberate, and undeniable grace of shifting celestial currents. And now it has arrived. We need to speak of a sacred clarity that is approaching you, not with the crash of a sudden storm, but with the quiet, undeniable authority of an inner knowing. A message is being prepared, carried by an emissary of expansive truth and liberating insight, perhaps a bold new idea, a deeply felt revelation, or a clear inner knowing. And it concerns a truth about your personal philosophy and your path of freedom that has been obscured for far too long. This is about the restoration of your vision, your boundless energy, and an authentic direction you have so restlessly, so optimistically waited for. Your soul, dear Sagittarius, was woven from the threads of boundless optimism and an innate understanding of higher truth. You have provided inspiration when the world around others felt mundane, a shining beacon of adventurous spirit. But somewhere along your path, that profound capacity to explore may have been mistaken for a boundless well of casual insights. Your optimism may have been misinterpreted as an acceptance of constant detours, and your direct nature as a sign that you did not feel the weight of spiritual stagnation. And it was in those very moments of restless endurance that the universe began to meticulously record every detail. Not in a book of judgment, my friends, but in the sacred energetic ledger of cosmic law. If this message is already beginning to resonate deep within your adventurous spirit, if you feel that flicker of recognition in your soul, take a moment now to become a cherished part of our growing sanctuary here at Cosmic Treasure. Press that subscribe button so you never miss these essential cosmic truths designed to illuminate your path. And let me know you are here anchored and ready to receive what is rightfully yours by commenting below this very moment. I am ready for my truth to unfold. Your declaration is a powerful signal, a beacon of light that tells the universe your heart is open. I would be so honored to connect with you there. My dear Sagittarius, let us now speak of the nature of your incredible spirit. There are mental or spiritual burdens you have carried in silence, delays in your own growth you have weathered without complaint, and moments of feeling constrained that you never spoke of aloud. You did not need to. The universe, in its infinite and loving wisdom, felt the restless strain on your seeking heart. It witnessed your refusal to compromise your ideals, even when it felt like the world was rewarding conformity and superficiality. You more than any other sign understand the profound power of holding your philosophical ground, not with aggression, but with a deep, unshakable knowing of what is right for your inner freedom. You chose perseverance not because you were powerless, but because your soul instinctively understands that true, lasting wisdom and authentic freedom cannot be rushed. You offered insight again and again, not because their actions were fair, but because your own inner truth was more valuable to you than engaging in a fleeting, noisy, intellectual battle. You refused to let the world's cynicism erode your optimistic foundation. You may have felt at times like you were in a great pause, a holding pattern that stretched on for months, perhaps even for years. But here is a sacred and profound truth of the spiritual journey. That pause was not a punishment. It was a preparation. It was a divine recalibration, a time when the cosmos was asking you to strengthen your inner vision, to deepen your roots in authentic self-expression, so that when the great blessing of clarity finally arrived, you would be strong enough to hold it. And now, my friends, that time is upon you. The energy of Saturn, the great lord of karma, structure and time, has been working quietly behind the scene. Its retrograde journey through the house of philosophical beliefs, of personal truths, of intellectual debts, both given and received, was not a blockage. Oh no, it was a sacred audit. It was stirring up the dust on old belief systems, on unspoken truths, on inheritances of both a mental and ancestral nature. It was bringing to light everything that was left unresolved, every energetic misalignment that was patiently waiting for its moment of reckoning, and the sacred clarity that is now preparing to contact you. This internal knowing is more than just a thought doing its job. It has become a channel, an instrument through which a far greater, more sacred force is moving to restore authentic vision. This isn't just about an insight, a feeling, or a gentle whisper. It is perfect cosmic timing. It is the universe itself handing you a key to a door to your own higher wisdom that was once locked. What is being returned to you is not merely intellectual energy. It is a restoration of your purpose. It is the validation of your worthiness to explore. It is the return of your freedom, a freedom that you never lost, but that was perhaps held in trust for you until this very moment. In the sacred language of the tarot, when cards of the chariot, purpose, of the hermit, truth, and of strength, inner conviction appear together, they are not just speaking of ideas, they are speaking of destiny made manifest. They are telling a story of a path that is finally clearing, of your deepest seeking needs being honored in spaces you may have only dreamed of. The doors are not opening because you finally pushed hard enough, or because someone else has granted you permission. They are opening because the very structure of the limiting situation can no longer hold itself together without honoring your rightful place within it. The scales of cosmic truth are tipping not because you forced them, but because the weight of your inner wisdom has become undeniable. This is no longer a battle you must fight, Sagittarius. In fact, one of the most profound lessons of this moment is that your greatest strength now lies in your ability to trust the journey, not in weakness, but in the quiet confidence of a soul who knows the greater forces are now working on your behalf. The more you can release the need to control outcomes or others' beliefs, the more you can trust that you are not being punished for past choices, but are being perfectly realigned with a blessing that simply took its time to ripen. The lighter your entire being will become, that profound sense of relief, that deep exhale you have been waiting for, doesn't arrive when the final intellectual understanding is reached or when external validation appears. It begins in this very moment, the second you truly understand that you are no longer carrying this quest alone. You do not need to prepare a speech to explain why your vision was overlooked. You no longer need to justify why a situation felt so deeply constricting. Your peace begins to rise from within the moment you realize that the universe has already heard your silent seeking and has ruled decisively in your favor. And isn't that the very definition of grace? It doesn't always arrive with a clap of thunder or a dramatic display. It often comes as a quiet notification within your spirit at just the right time, a realization that feels like a key unlocking an ancient mental or spiritual chain. A sudden, inexplicable feeling that reminds you with absolute certainty that your true path was never ever forgotten. Even when you grew weary of seeking and your hope became a quiet, flickering ember, something in the cosmos was still listening. Even when you stopped actively asking, a divine answer was still being prepared for you. So if a part of your soul has grown tired of waiting for clarity of purpose, if your spirit has gone quiet with the sheer weight of it all, let this message be a sacred confirmation. Not everything that has been taken from your path is gone forever. Some things, my beautiful friend, are destined to return. Not because you begged or pleaded for them, but because they were always energetically yours. You no longer need to fight. You only need to be ready, ready to receive, ready to open your hands and your heart, not because you forced this outcome, but because this moment of divine restoration has always had your name written upon it. So stay open, stay expansive, because even if the one delivering this news is your own bold insight or a profound realization, what is truly arriving is something far greater. It is not truth in theory. It is personal, it is real, and it is yours. There is a beautiful, profound stillness in the moment, just before a great wave of clarity and purpose is about to wash over you. It's not a moment of chaos, but one of immense contained intellectual and spiritual power. That is where you are standing right now, Sagittarius, the place you have been residing in recently. A place that may have felt like stagnation of vision or a creative block was never truly empty. It has been a sacred space of preparation. The great universal pause you experienced around your quest for truth, around overdue recognition or withheld energetic resources, was not designed to weaken or diminish you. It was shaping your very foundation. It was teaching your spirit the true meaning of self-rest, a value that exists far beyond external validation, so that when the floodgates of expansive abundance finally open, you will not be swept away. You will know with the calm and quiet confidence of your inner guide precisely how to hold what comes. When we speak of intellectual energy of your life force, finally beginning to move again in your favor, please understand we are speaking of something so much deeper than fleeting ideas. We are speaking of life force. We are speaking of energy that has been frozen, of inspirations, thoughts, and even physical restlessness that have been held in a state of suspended animation and are now, at long last, ready to flow once more. The idea that what was once held back will now be returned to you is not merely a hopeful forecast. It is a spiritual opening, and as this sacred gateway appears before you, your role is not just to passively receive, it is to consciously expand your capacity to hold more clarity of purpose, more self-rest, more freedom to explore, and more of that deep boundless joy that is your soul's birthright. From a cosmic perspective, this is a profoundly significant time for you. The planets are illuminating the areas of your chart that govern spiritual quest, the places tied to support for your ideals, to mutual wisdom, to ancestral belief patterns, and to all forms of mutually held intellectual wealth. But more importantly, these areas are no longer just glowing with potential. They are beginning to move. Saturn's recent journey was not there to block you. It was there to quietly help you solidify your own unshakable sense of inner wisdom, independent of any external validation. And now, as this great cosmic teacher prepares to hand you something tangible, you are not just being asked to open an intellectual door. You are being asked to walk through it with the full weight of your integrity, with the wisdom you have gained in the waiting. We so often forget this simple, powerful truth. Our mental or spiritual resistance creates energetic delay. When you carry a deep-seated fear of not having enough clear direction or a subtle guilt about putting your own quest for truth first and receiving abundance, you unconsciously create a small dam that blocks the very flow already trying to reach you. This moment right now is your sacred invitation to soften that fear. It is time to stop questioning whether you have earned this. You have your very existence, your boundless optimism, your unwavering integrity that was the work. You are already enough. You do not need to prove that to another living soul, and you don't even need to prove it to yourself anymore. If you have ever wondered in the quiet moments whether it is wrong or unspiritual to desire clear purpose and expansive freedom, let this message reassure you with all the certainty of the cosmos. It is not. Peace and abundance, when placed in the optimistic, capable hands of a soul like you, becomes a source of profound inspiration. It becomes a tool for creating vision, for nurturing growth, and for supporting not just yourself but all those you hold dear in your adventurous heart. And yes, perhaps a bold conversation is on its way, a daring realization, and unexpected sense of ease. But the real lasting shift, the one that will change the entire trajectory of your life, is internal. It is the moment you finally fully stop believing that truth, freedom, or purpose must be earned like a wage. You were worthy of it all along, and now life is simply catching up to the magnificent truth of who you have always been. Here is something simple, a small ritual I recommend as you open to this new frequency. When your energy begins to expand like this, consciously surround yourself with colors that reflect spiritual expansion and clear, inspired movement. The color deep purple brings in the vibration of higher wisdom, of cosmic understanding, and of joyful forward momentum. Royal blues or fiery gold invite clarity, purpose, and an adventurous self-assurance. You don't need to perform a complicated ceremony. Simply allow these colors into your space, into your wardrobe, perhaps even as the background on your phone. This is not a superstition, my friend. It is a conscious act of energetic alignment. It is you telling the universe, I am ready to match the frequency of my blessings. And if you have ever looked around at the world and wondered, when will it finally be my turn for true direction? This is your sign. You are not late. You are not behind. You are arriving in perfect divine timing to a life that is fully and completely ready to receive you. So breathe deeply. Let go of the immense pressure that told you that you must fight and struggle for every inch of spiritual progress. You don't. This is not a war. It is a return. It is a homecoming. Let it come to you. When the energy in your life begins a profound shift, dear Sagittarius, it rarely announces itself with loud drama. At first, it often shows up as a subtle, unmistakable friction. Intellectual connections that once flowed with ease suddenly seem to misalign. Words that you speak with clarity don't seem to land with others in the way they used to. Or perhaps most powerfully, a quiet, persistent thought begins to rise from the depths of your soul. A whisper that says, "This no longer fits who I am." You, more than most, are a master of optimistic vision. You instinctively know how to create harmony and stability within your inner world. And so, when your own internal scales begin to feel off balance despite all of your best efforts to steady them, please know this. It is not a sign of your failure. It is sacred feedback. It is a signal from your higher self that something deep within you is undergoing a profound spiritual evolution. The people, the roles, or the intellectual spaces that once met you exactly where you were may no longer be able to reach the person you have now become. In the language of the cosmos, that feeling often arises when transformative planets like Uranus or Pluto touch your chart gently, but insistently pulling you out of old, rigid belief structures and asking you to grow beyond the outdated versions of your own story. But this is not about burning your life to the ground for you. It is about a sacred and intentional realignment. It is about choosing with quiet dignity a path that is in greater harmony with the truth of your soul today. The cards, especially those of the journey and the vision, indicate a key moment of direction or redirection is upon you. And while it may feel deeply uncomfortable or uncertain on the surface, please trust that this is not a punishment. It is by divine design. You are not just being pulled away from something. You are being lovingly, powerfully pulled towards something better, something your next chapter desperately needs in order to truly, magnificently bloom. You may already be sensing the signs, those gentle whispers from the universe. A recurring sense of intellectual tension with a person whose perspective you once trusted implicitly, a duty or a role that once inspired your optimism, but now leaves you feeling drained and empty. Conversations that feel like they are taking more from you than they are giving. These are not random coincidences, my friends. They are cues from your soul. They are your spirit's way of lovingly nudging you and saying it's time. When these signs begin to appear with greater frequency, it is no longer a matter of if you will need to move forward in a different way, but simply a matter of when. The discomfort you feel in these moments is just your magnificent soul's way of saying this mental or spiritual container has become too small for the person you are becoming. There is something so deeply sacred about the moments in life that ask us to make a choice. Not a choice born of fear or made in haste, but one made with quiet, deliberate intention. And for you, Sagittarius, choosing to move forward does not mean you are betraying or dismissing the past. It simply means you have honored its lessons so completely that you have now outgrown the intellectual or spiritual classroom it once provided. You do not owe anyone a lengthy explanation for your evolution. Honoring the truth of the person you have become is reason enough to step into something new. Trust the signals that are rising from within you. Trust your impeccable timing, your adventurous instincts, and trust in the spiritual freedom that is patiently waiting for you just beyond the horizon of what you have been afraid to release. There is a story of a great ancient tree that stood for centuries providing shelter and shade. But one year, a new, stronger sapling began to grow right beside it, and the old tree's roots began to feel crowded. The old tree did not fight the sapling. It did not try to choke its growth. In its great silent wisdom, it simply began to let go. It allowed some of its oldest branches to fall away, creating space and sunlight for the new life to flourish. It understood that its legacy was not in holding on forever, but in gracefully making way for the future. You, Sagittarius, may be in one of those moments. You don't need to see the next 5 steps of your journey lit up before you. You only need to have the courage to acknowledge what is no longer nourishing your adventurous spirit. And when you create that sacred space, life always has a way of meeting you there. A gentle practice I often suggest is to take a piece of paper and write down what you are truly ready to let go of. not as an exercise in control, but as an affirmation of your readiness to move forward. Name the thing you have carried for too long. A mental burden, a limiting belief, a path you have outgrown. Say it clearly. Let that be the sacred beginning of your spiritual release. Healing, my beautiful friend, rarely arrives like a bolt of lightning. It comes gently, layer by layer, through a series of small goodbyes and quiet truths that rise to the surface without warning. Sometimes it even shows up in the form of someone from your past, not to re-enter your life, but to offer you a final sacred opportunity to close a chapter that was never truly finished. Right now, the cosmos is deeply supporting this kind of spiritual release for you. With your ruling planet Jupiter guiding your expansive vision, and the Wands cards appearing so strongly in your reading, you are entering a time of profound vision-centered recalibration. This is not a season for high drama or painful conflict. It is a season designed for clarity. It is a moment where purpose no longer needs to be chased or proven. It only needs to be welcomed when it shows up in its calmest, most honest, and most authentic form. This closure you are seeking might come through a bold conversation you once thought could never happen. Or perhaps even more powerfully, it will come through a profound and healing silence, a moment when the old, challenging philosophical questions that once haunted you simply fade away and a deep and lasting peace finally takes their place. This is the quiet strength of true spiritual maturity. It is the deep knowing that not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay forever, but that every single connection, even the challenging ones, leaves you with a sacred gift, something to honor, something to learn from, and then something to gently let go. Sagittarius, this is your chance to turn your gaze inward. If you have been seeking clarity about a life path, a past journey, a guiding philosophy, a spiritual bond, this is your cue to begin a soft and gentle reflection. Take out a journal and write the insights you never had the chance to share. Look through old maps or travel souvenirs, not with a sense of longing for what was, but with a heart full of gratitude for how far you have come. Then, when it feels right in your soul, perform a small ritual of release. Maybe you burn a limiting belief written on paper in a safe place, watching the smoke carry the old energy away. Maybe you bury a symbolic object in the earth, not to erase the memory, but to release its hold on you, to set yourself free without an ounce of regret. And perhaps on the other side of that sacred freedom, a new kind of purpose is waiting. Not a purpose that is loud or fast or demanding, but one that is steady and true. The kind of purpose that doesn't overwhelm your spirit, but guides it gently. A purpose that doesn't constantly test your worth, but quietly, consistently reminds you of it. If this is what your heart has been craving, know that it begins not in finding an external destination, but in how you tenderly show up for yourself, to be fully present with your own truths, to allow them to move through you without judgment or shame or a need to create a story around them. That is the sacred invitation that brings real lasting clarity and purpose into your life. There is something so incredibly beautiful about learning to seek truth without needing to preach it, about standing so still and so solidly in your own wisdom that you allow yourself to be truly seen. Not as a version of yourself that you have molded to please someone else, but as the magnificent, authentic person you have so boldly, so courageously become. This is the kind of deep inner healing that subtly shifts everything around you, not through force but through pure resonance. This is what opens the door to a connection that feels real, that feels like alignment, because it starts not with another person, but with a profound reconciliation with the deepest parts of yourself. True reconciliation, dear Sagittarius, isn't always about reaching back to someone from your past. More often than not, it is about returning to the sacred places in your own heart or mind you have been afraid to touch. When you finally stop carrying the immense weight of unanswered questions that can no longer be rewritten, you make room for beautiful new stories to grow. Stories built on presence, on peace, and on the divine permission to finally feel free again. Not every great turning point in our lives begins with a grand decisive action. Some of the most profound shifts start in the stillness. They begin in that soft, sacred space between a thought and a belief, in the realm where your imagination meets your willingness to receive. Sagittarius, you have walked such a long road of bold questing and deep, unwavering optimism. And now life is asking you to take one more gentle step, not outwardly, but inwardly. Not with your hands, but with your mind. Because before any great blessing can land in your physical world, it must first be allowed to take root in the soil of your inner vision. Your imagination is not mere daydreaming. It is a frequency. It is the energetic shape your future takes before it arrives in your reality. What you can picture with clarity, what you can feel with depth in your heart begins to gather around your life like iron filings to a magnet. This is not magic in the way of fiction. It is the sacred science of energetic patterning. And right now, Sagittarius, you are being asked to aim that powerful, expansive energy of yours toward spiritual expansion, toward intellectual abundance, and toward your next open door. The numbers are speaking to you now as well. The presence of the number 7 surrounds you in this time. 7 is the number of spiritual completion of a cycle coming to its natural and necessary end. It is the number of closure for all that has been. And right behind it, you can feel the energy of the number 3 rising. 3 is the number of rebirth, of creation, of joyful expression. This divine pairing of 7 and 3 marks a profound reset point in your journey. It is the turning of a great page in your book of life. It is the kind of cosmic shift that invites you to dare to imagine again and to do so boldly without guilt and without the mental or spiritual limitations of the past. And sometimes it is the simplest tools that hold the most profound power. I invite you to try this with me now. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and picture your phone lighting up with a message from someone you deeply admire. A message that brings you profound clarity and understanding about your next grand adventure. Or perhaps you simply feel a wave of complete purpose wash over you as you look at your vision board or a map of a place you long to explore. Just allow that feeling to flood your entire being, the feeling of profound relief, the feeling of deep gratitude, the feeling of unshakable spiritual security. Notice how your breath changes. Notice how the tension in your shoulders begins to melt away. Notice the warmth that spreads through your chest. That moment, my friend, even when it is only imagined, is how true alignment begins. It begins not in the external world, but in your own nervous system. You don't have to force or fake the feeling. You just have to be willing to feel it, even for a few seconds each day. That is how your reality learns what it is to become. When you imagine with this kind of focused intention, you're not running away from the truth of your current circumstances. You're building a new, more powerful relationship with it. Your thoughts become the compass points, and your inspired action becomes the engine that drives you forward. Together they form the path to your desired destination. I have heard so many stories from beautiful souls who have used this simple sacred practice. One person, after months of agonizing intellectual confusion surrounding a life path decision, began to write every single night in their journal as if it had already happened. They wrote, "Thank you for the clarity. Thank you for the spiritual freedom and purposeful direction that now fills my life." At first, they said it felt awkward, like they were pretending, but within weeks, something began to shift. Conversations that had felt stuck suddenly found flow. Misunderstandings that were in a bureaucratic maze of assumptions suddenly cleared. Their simple notebook became more than just paper. It became the fertile soil where their belief began to bloom. Their words were the water, and their trust was the seed. You do not need to have your entire future figured out to begin. You do not need to be completely fearless. You just need to believe it is possible long enough for the momentum of the universe to find you. Just like a tiny seed must first break open in the darkness of the soil before it can reach for the sun, your breakthroughs need this time of quiet internal tending before they can rise into the light. And what nourishes them most is not external proof, it is your faith. It is your quiet, gentle decision to hold a vision in your heart before the world reflects it back to you. If you have just walked through a great spiritual storm, Sagittarius, please take a deep breath now. The worst has passed. Even if the rainbow isn't fully visible yet, trust that it is forming somewhere just beyond your sight. Color and warmth are returning to your sky. Because your imagination, when combined with your powerful expansive energy, becomes the sacred bridge from what is to what can be. If you have journeyed with me to this sacred point in our message, my beautiful Sagittarius soul, I want to thank you, not just for listening with your ears, but for staying present with whatever stirred inside of you. Whether this message awakened an old restlessness or sparked a new and brilliant hope, you showed up for it. And that act of showing up in and of itself is irrefutable proof that you are already in motion. Everything you have heard today was not just random information. It was alignment finding its way to you, not as a coincidence, not as a stroke of blind luck. This message arrived at your door because on a deep soul level you were ready. Even if you didn't consciously know it until this very moment, you have been standing at the precipice of a great spiritual or directional change for longer than you may even realize, quietly sensing that something is about to give, that something is about to shift, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. And while the universe may graciously present you with the door only, you can make the conscious choice to place your hand upon the handle and turn it. Only you can decide to walk through. Perhaps that door looks like finally receiving the clarity or guidance you once believed had passed you by. Profound alignment, a long-delayed journey, a well-earned recognition for your bold, tireless questing finally coming full circle. Perhaps it means finally gracefully letting go of a role, a person, or a pattern of limiting thinking that no longer reflects the magnificent, evolved version of you that you have become. Or perhaps, just perhaps, it is about purpose. A kind of purpose that doesn't ask you to shrink yourself to fit. A purpose that doesn't demand performance or perfection, but only your gentle, authentic presence. Whatever form your breakthrough takes, the root of it is always the same. A single moment of choice. A decision made not in the chaos of the world, but in the profound clarity of your own heart. And that choice does not live in the noise outside. It lives within you. So, let me ask you something with all the honesty of my heart. What if this wasn't just a video you stumbled upon? What if this was your divine confirmation? What if the very thing you have been waiting for, whether it's a spiritual breakthrough, a profound realization, a sign from the universe, a release from limiting beliefs, is already on its way to you being quietly and lovingly prepared behind the scenes, simply waiting for you to truly believe that it is possible? Are you ready to make space for it in your life? Are you willing to loosen your grip on what is dissolving so that you have two hands free to receive what is now coming alive? So many of us hold ourselves back, waiting for something external to shift before we give ourselves permission to feel differently on the inside. But what if the great cosmic secret is that it works the other way around? What if your internal heartfelt yes is the very key that activates the change you have been praying for? Right now, just for a moment, I invite you to pause, close your eyes. Take a slow, deep breath into the very center of your being and whisper softly, either out loud or in your spirit, these two simple words I receive. Feel what happens, not just in your mind, but in your body, in your shoulders, in your jaw, in the rhythm of your heartbeat. Let your very selves remember what openness feels like. That, my beautiful friend, is how we begin again. Your path has never truly been walked alone. There are quiet, powerful forces at work, threads of divine grace weaving through the tapestry of your story, even when you cannot see the full pattern yet. But even so, the ultimate power to move forward still belongs to you. You are the one who turns divine alignment into earthly reality. You are the one who anchors the energy of miracles into solid form. And it doesn't begin with a grand declaration to the world. It begins with the smallest, truest, most honest yes to yourself. Thank you for joining me here on Cosmic Treasure. Remember, you are the seeker. You are the bold, powerful creator of your reality. And you are so much closer than you think to achieving your wildest, most beautiful dreams. I send you an abundance of joy, love, and unwavering peace. Until next time,